The stage is set for the Super Bowl. It's the San Francisco 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's the big game. It's coming up, and we're all excited.
So who will win this grudge match? This
is Chick to Chick.
Okay, all right, let's just get this out of the way. We know the 49ers are playing.
Right.
We know Kansas City is playing. I know I'm wearing a Ravens jersey.
And I know I'm wearing a Cowboys jersey, so we already know our guys are not in it.
Yeah, so let's just get over it and let's just deal with it. So a really good friend of mine bought this jersey for my son like 10 years ago. It doesn't fit him anymore. It fits me like a dress. It's the only football shirt I have, so deal with it. I'm wearing a Ravens football shirt, whatever.
Hey, that's fine, and I'm happy about it because we've got a Penn State player who is now on the Ravens team. So anytime I get my guys in it, because I love college football.
And why are you wearing that jersey?
Because my husband's a huge Cowboys fan. It's the only one I could put on, and it really looks like a dress. It's ridiculous.
There you go. Okay, so I got to ask, the big game's coming up. Do you watch for the game or do you watch for the commercials?
I think people do for both.
Yeah.
I really do. I think, first of all, there's a lot of hype. I mean, I don't remember growing up anybody really talked about the commercials. I don't think it was that big of a deal. Before, after the fact, it was, did you see the commercial? But now with the influence of social media and people getting excited to see what the show will be at halftime and who's going to be talking about what at the water cooler on Monday, there's a lot more hype. And I think people get excited even if their team isn't in it. I mean, people bet, they have huge parties. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And I do think that we are obsessed as a country with sports. We are obsessed with football. We are obsessed with the Super Bowl. Life will come to a standstill next Sunday to watch the big game, which leads us to really our topic today. Is our sports obsession really a sports overload when it comes to our kids? And we are on opposite sides of the nest on this one.
The fence is up here.
Yeah.
Drawn.
So you want to start or should I start?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I grew up with an athletic mind. I mean, I grew up learning to ski when I was around 2 years old. My parents put me in gymnastics. I shuffled around a soccer field for a little bit. I think I did more cartwheels in the goal than I did doing anything else with a soccer ball. But the point was, I was constantly active. So in the wintertime, I was skiing, and it wasn't just for fun. I was actually on the ski team from the time I was in first grade, second grade maybe. And then I also went into not just learning gymnastics, but competing in gymnastics. So I've always been in that space, and it's always been something fun, and I have really great memories for all of it. And now, as a parent, I have kids who have already experienced a boatload of team sports and individual sports, and, you know, we're kind of still in it. Each one of my kids has done something different.
Okay, so you grew up in that mindset with sports, and I grew up in a mindset, what's for breakfast, what's for lunch, and what's for dinner.
Because you're Italian.
That's what we do. Mm-hmm. Our entire lives were centered around food, and sports wasn't that much of a big deal. It was always about what are we making, what are we cooking, who's coming over, what family's coming to visit, or your cousins coming over. It wasn't discouraged, but it wasn't encouraged. I think it was in your home. And so from my point of view, I feel like in some cases, we have gotten to a point where sort of at this sports overload with our kids. I mean, back then, as my son likes to say, you know, you'd play maybe a soccer game or have a practice one day a week and then a game. Well, now we're at the point where soccer, you're practicing every single night, and then you have a game, and then you have tournaments, and then you have travel teams.
You act like you just
constantly. I didn't do it, but I hear about it from you.
I did.
And I hear about it, and I feel like, are we overdoing it? Is it too much? Like, when do our kids actually have time to just sit and be a kid? Because they're going to school all day, then they're going to practice, and then they're rushing home, and then they're doing their homework, and they're going to bed at midnight, and they're starting this vicious cycle all over again.
You need to come up for air. You look exhausted.
I am exhausted just talking about it.
I know you are.
And I just feel like, can we just let them be kids? Like, let them play sports, but Does it have to be every night? Does there have to be a game every weekend? Do we have to have all of these tournaments and travel to Israel for a game? I mean, why do we need to do all this stuff?
I didn't travel to Israel for a game, but we did Costa Rica. Okay, so you said your piece. You said your piece.
Wait, you said your piece first. I just said my piece.
That was a long piece.
You're up.
Here I go.
You're up.
So I want to just say this, and this is the truth. When we started out with our kids, we encouraged them to do a lot of different things. If something didn't stick, the only thing we said was you started it and you're going to finish it through the season. That's all.
Yep.
And as it turned out, our kids became really invested on their own. This is something they wanted to do. If any given time I had to drag them out the door for my purpose because I wanted to fulfill some dream through them, no, that was not going to happen. I mean, I had 3 kids. It's a big juggle and a struggle at times to get everybody on the same page. And yes, you do give up a lot of different things, but there is also incredible benefits. And I will say it like this. There was a lot of team camaraderie with the other parents because you're all in the same boat. There's a lot of help that goes on. There's a lot of parents who will say, I'll pick up, you drop off, because everybody knows other people have things going on and other kids are doing things. There's a lot of kids that will sit together and they'll do a lot of their homework and go over things with each other because they are spending so much time together. And then there's the benefit of really having another influence of a strong adult in that child's life to help guide them. You're learning responsibility, time management, physical fitness, and you're learning how to really learn how to get along as a group. And we did that. We did that really, really well.
You just sit, you came down. It's the oxygen mask. Here, breathe.
Hold on.
Breathe.
You just went on a rant. You just went on a rant.
The oxygen mask just fell out.
Zip
Here,
it.
take a breath.
That's how I felt about you a minute ago. And now you see why we're on opposite sides of the fence. And the thing I will say is that when it was time for my kids to move on and kind of age out in a way, and that was when Sam, the first one, when she went off to college, she really thought, am I supposed to play in college? What am I supposed to do? And I'm the one that said, you didn't do all this just to play for, college ball. You did this because you enjoyed it. It was important to you at the time. Now is time for the next phase of life. So yes, it was an intense time in the beginning. We gave up some dinners and we gave up some things, but I will say in the end, for us as a family, and it continues to serve a purpose. We loved it.
Are you done chirping?
I waited for you. Now go ahead.
Are you done? Okay,
I don't know. How long are you going to take? Another 10 minutes?
I think the message here is it depends on the kid and it depends on your child, and listen to your child. So what I heard from you is that your kids were into it.
Yes.
And they wanted to do it. And from my perspective, my son was not into it. I remember when he played soccer when he was in kindergarten. And in the beginning, it was practice 2 days a week and then a game on Saturday. And as he advanced to first grade, it was this Monday night, this Tuesday night game, this almost every single night there was something going on. And I literally sat down with him and mapped it out. And I showed him Sunday night's this, Monday night's that, Tuesday. And he turned around and he looked at me and he said, Mom, when do I have time to be a kid? When do I have time to come home and just chill and relax? And I said, well, if you want to play soccer and I support you, this is what the schedule is, but you need to understand going into it, this is the schedule. If you start it, as you said, you will finish it. And ultimately, he said to me, I don't want to do it. I want to be able to come home from school and I want to relax. I don't want to feel like I'm coming home, eating dinner, rushing out the door, going to practice, coming home, doing homework. He didn't want to do it. So I think the message here is listen to your child, hear what they have to say, but don't be that parent that still forces your child to play when they don't want to play. Because I have seen that far too many times.
They burn out.
They're crying on the sidelines. They're burned out. Don't live through your kids. Don't force them to do it, because if they don't want to do it, they're not going to be happy.
Here's the other thing, and this is, while the coach is the authority in many ways, they're not the authority over your life and ultimately over your child. And when we were involved in one of our daughter's, sports, it just felt like at times the kid was so worried about everything with this coach, and it gave so much angst. And if I would say, no, you need to get through this homework tonight. You are a student athlete, and the whole, oh no, my coach is going to be so upset, or I might get benched, or I would blah, blah, blah. Those are the things that drove me absolutely batty. So I feel like there are definitely times when parents need to sit down with not only the coach, but their child and have really reasonable expectations about everything so that a child can experience something wonderful and beautiful in the world of sports, and parents don't feel like some other person has the authority over their child, because that is not cool.
But what you said was important. They are student athletes.
Right.
Student first, athlete second.
The likelihood of these kids going on and being the NFL athlete of who we're going to see at the big game,
not gonna
or
happen.
an Olympiad, isn't there.
Not going to happen.
However, it does put them in a really great space if they do decide to become a college athlete to be in front of a lot of different opportunities. So I do see where some parents do want their kids to get that scholarship, and then maybe they do have a better opportunity in a work environment because of being a college athlete. But we just keep going back to the same thing. Listen to your child.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, if you're driving your kid to practice and it's something that you want and your kid doesn't, you need to reevaluate.
And they're crying in the back seat.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't force them to do it, because they're going to be miserable. Because if I had forced my son, he would have been miserable.
Yeah.
So really listen to what your child wants and pay attention to that. And hey, thanks for paying attention to us again.
We squabbled. It was great.
It is. We were like,
It was good.
we were on the opposite sides of the nest on this one. But the game's coming up on Sunday. Enjoy the game, root for your favorite team, and have a ball. And thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. And you know what? You can always find us. We're on 6 different podcast channels. You got Facebook, and now new is IGTV, and that's through Instagram. So now you can watch us, the full podcast, on 2 different places of social media.
We're all over the place, and we will be back next week to chirp about another topic.